everybody. It's Ron and Hope Unfiltered, and we don't have our LED wall.
It's a curtain.
It's a curtain. It's beautiful.
So tell them what it is since they can't read it. It's Ron and Hope.
They can't read what?
Unfiltered.
There's no words here.
Real, raw, and relevant. The LED board is broken.
Okay.
So what do you do when the LED board breaks? You bring in a curtain and put a light on it.
Beautiful.
Yes, it does.
Kind of reminds me of our early days at Redemption.
It does.
When we had...
I think sometimes God wants to remind us of where we came from.
Yeah. When we had shower curtains on the wall.
And they don't know that we just spent 30 minutes evening out this table before everybody got in here.
My word.
We couldn't make it quit wobbling. It took a team of about 14 to make the table quit wobbling. So we don't come with the best of equipment today, but we come with a good heart.
Yeah, we do. And good content.
And I'm so hungry.
What?
I'm so hungry. Tell them what we're doing again, what you're making me do.
I am not making you do
Tell them
any
what
of
we're making
this,
me. Well, you
Ron.
won't cook meat. So I have to eat whatever you bring.
We decided about 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks.
It's about 7 weeks now.
That we were not going to eat chicken, pork, or red meat for a while. And Ron's starving.
I can't eat but so many leaves. I've eaten more. I've eaten every kind of leaf.
He lives hungry. He wakes up hungry. He's hungry after he had
Don't
breakfast.
I look skinny?
After lunch. He's hungry through the day. He's hangry.
I am hungry. After I went and ate another salad with leaves. I ain't got no energy now.
Stop shaking your
To
leg.
be carried.
But the deal is, Ron, you act like you're trying to be healthy, but I find Snicker wrappers in your pants
Snicker
at night.
is not meat.
But you're substituting something bad.
No, Twix is not meat.
Oh, God.
Snicker is not meat. Rice Krispie treats are not meat.
But we're trying to get good blood work.
No, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get blood work right. And I did this. Some of y'all remember because I kind of chronicled it when I was working out in my garage. I did this one time, during COVID? I think it was during COVID. Yes. And of all things, you're trying to get your numbers right. And the reason I'm trying to do it now is because I'm buying another life insurance policy and stuff. And if your
because we want you to live.
Yeah, I know it. But if your numbers are off, it ain't that they won't give you the policy. It's that drives the price of the premium up. And so I said, no, I can fix a couple of those numbers. And all of it's because I'm a carnivore and I pound so much protein all the time. So I said, I'm going to back off a little bit and try to do this a different way. Man, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's so hard. I passed by somebody today that was grilling a ribeye steak, and I just wanted to steal them.
Because
go off in a corner and eat it.
That meat is like the sustenance of your meal. And so you just kind of eat it and like, okay.
And then you come to the East Coast. So we're taping this one from the East Coast. Most people know we got campuses on the East and the West Coast. West Coast make a lot of provision for plant-based diets. Even chain restaurants will have like a vegetarian page. It's really odd. You come to the East Coast,
not much.
It's a cow, a chicken, a pig. Somebody's dying.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody's dying.
And it's going to be fried.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we're at right now, and that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about today. We got a good one today. And
well, it
actually,
kind of does have something to do with
we're
what we're talking about today,
does.
Ronald.
Because that might be one of the areas that we talk about. Yeah. I said I just want to list some areas. Let me tell you what we try to do, guys. What we try to do is, number one, you see me and Hope when we're not on a stage. And me and Hope cut up a lot. Me and Hope have a great relationship, great marriage. We're best buds. But we do laugh. We do go back and forth with each other. And it's funny. And we try to let you in on a little bit of that. And this is really the only platform where we get to do that. This is totally unscripted. We don't have any notes. Well, she does have something written down. I don't know if that's notes or not. But it's totally unscripted for the most part. But we just come up with the topic, and then we start talking. And what we try to do is give you a little something spiritual, and then the rest of it kind of natural. This ain't made to preach. This ain't made. But
you do end up
this
preaching
ain't made
and
revelation.
getting really loud at
and,
times.
I get animated
if
I'm in the Word. I get animated because I get excited about the Word and what I'm saying. But I try to let you know that everything me and Hope do, we try to do it from a spiritual foundation. We really do. In other words, if you crawl down underneath all of our life habits, down at the bottom of it, there's a spiritual principle somewhere.
That's the truth we live by.
And so I like to start there and say, hey, God says this. and then break that on down. How does that thing trickle all the way down in our life? Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But I do know that we aspire to build our life on the
be
Word
better.
of God. And that's
Yeah.
what brings the peace and the joy. I think that's what keeps the laughter in the relationship and the marriage, because when you get away from God's laws, it just comes off the rails.
Right.
And so anyway, we're talking about boundaries. Don't turn it off. Stay right here.
Boundaries.
Talking about boundaries.
Boundaries. What are boundaries?
Very difficult, because you cannot talk about boundaries apart from discipline.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever in my life, in a spiritual context, quoted Mike Tyson. But I heard him the other day said something about discipline that I thought was amazing. He said, discipline is doing what you hate the exact same way you do what you love. I thought about that a minute. So with the same vigor, fervor, passion, and energy, I do something that I really don't care for, because I know
Trying
it will
to be better.
I know it will take me to the thing that I care for.
Yeah.
And I thought, would Webster call it that? I don't know. But discipline, boundaries without discipline are impossible, because boundaries are basically the fruit of I'm putting some disciplines in place because what I've been doing ain't working no more.
Boundaries defined really is what's me and what's not me. Who am I? Who am I not?
Say that.
Boundaries is, what's me, what's not me. And, how your grandmama used to say, birds of a feather flock together. What's me, what's not me? And what do you want to be? Especially trying to have new boundaries. You have to say, what are the standards for my life? And I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to identify. I'm not going to give time to. I'm not giving my life to those things. I'm having to draw protection. I'm having to draw boundaries, because that's not me. This is who I am.
So when you tell me I like seafood, you're telling me who you are. When you tell me I like
Mexican food.
Mexican food. When you tell me I like love stories and movies, all those things are important, because what you're doing is you're giving me definition. You're giving me definition of who you are, your likes, your dislikes, your passions. You do not like mice.
Oh my God, no, I don't.
You don't like mice, because
Terribly
one jumped
afraid
in
of
the
them.
tub with you
Right.
when you were a kid, and what did it do?
It crossed a boundary.
Crossed a boundary, and she was a girl, and I heard that legs and feet went flying everywhere, and she screamed for her dad. And he had to come in and get the mouse out of the tub, and ever since that time, she does not
Terrified
like mice.
of anything in the rodent family.
Because Chase had a snake. Remember that?
And we had to feed
What
it.
was it, python or boa constrictor?
I don't know.
Python, and we had to feed it. We would have to go buy mice.
Those tiny little white
You know what? She wasn't scared of the snake.
No.
She's terrified. She's terrified of the mouse. And we had to go buy those things, 2 and 3 at the time, to feed that snake. Crazy. But those are the things, I said all that to say this. Those were the things over life that let me know this is who Hope is.
Yeah.
This defines you.
Yeah. Boundaries are taking responsibility for your life.
Yep.
Taking responsibility.
Like I would not get you and come home and say, babe, I got 2 tickets. What? I'm taking you to a tractor pull.
Oh, God. No, that's not me.
It's not you. It's not you. There's some women out there that would be a great night, and they would go have fun. You're dressed in pink.
I'm not going to the tractor
You're
pull.
not. But I come home and tell you that Lion King or whatever is going to be held down at the Peace Center or the Civic Center or something like that. I got 2 tickets. Oh, you're going to light up. You're going to beam. That's because you have defined yourself to me.
Yeah.
I would submit, before you not only just get married in a covenant relationship, but before you become good friends with anybody, make sure they can live with your boundaries.
Yeah.
And can I tell you something else? Anybody that causes you to compromise your boundaries, I don't think that's a friend.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think that's a friend. I think people who really love Ron Carpenter will respect the boundaries that he has in place. And I go certain places to preach, Hope, and they have all this stuff cooked, but they know I'm a tad bit health conscious. I'm trying to. The men in my family died young, almost all of them, And I'm trying to break that.
Right.
I've broke a lot of things, and I'm trying to break that as well. So I tend to be a little bit health conscious. I appreciate the fact when I go preach and we go to the dinner after the thing is over with, they'll be serving all that. They'll come lay me out, my salmon with some rice beside it, something like that. And
More leaves.
I want all the fried chicken, and I want all the pie, and I want all the cake, just like they do. But because where I'm trying to go, I have these boundaries, and I appreciate the fact they respect it.
Yeah, it's your
They
property
respect
line.
that,
It's
yeah.
just like living in a house. Most people have a fence around their property line. Why? Why do you have a fence in the first place?
Where I stop and they start.
To protect your property. That's what boundaries do. They protect us.
All right. For the preachers that are watching, let me give you a sermon. Here's a sermon text. Here's the spiritual part. And then I really want to talk about some areas. We want to talk about boundaries with kids. We want to talk about boundaries with money. I think we need to talk about boundaries with in-laws. We need to talk about boundaries with your career and some of the things that I think we did right and some of the things that we waited too long to do. And but first of all, just let me give this right here. Ezekiel 47, Hope. You're the one that when you came back from a lot of your ministry time 10 years ago, you had really done a lot of study with Miss Denise in this river and the throne of God and everything. It's a throne of God scene in Ezekiel 47. Okay, I'm not trying to give you the prophetic insight of that. It is a prophetic picture. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want to excerpt a principle from it. It said there's a river that flows, and it said there's life in that river, and it said that there's trees that grow on the banks.
Right.
And the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. Then it goes on to say, but where there are no banks is a swamp. And it said, and nothing can live in that swamp. Okay? What that means for Israel, for the church, for the end times, I haven't studied that, so I can't speak. Let me talk about the banks and river.
Okay.
There is life in that river. And the reason there is life in that river is because a river has banks. The banks channel where the water can go.
A stopping point.
They channel where the water can't go. The water can come to here and it's got to stop. The water can come to here and it's got to stop. And it will keep flowing and things will keep living as long as it has banks. Now, there are trees on the banks, so what does it do? The banks protect the water, but the water feeds the banks. So the trees are not in the water.
Right.
The trees are on the banks. I hear a lot of songs in a lot of churches, river, get in the river, get in the river. Well, the fruit is not in the river.
Right. It's
The
on
fruit's
bank.
on the banks. So, you need to be in the presence of God. You need the glory of God. You need those things, but you also got to get out and build something.
But the fruit comes from the protection.
Exactly. And here they work for each other. The banks cause the water to flow. The water feeds the banks. And then the trees and the leaves, there's healing on banks. There's boundaries.
Healing and
Boundaries will heal your life.
Yes.
Boundaries
But
will
most
heal your
people
life.
don't like anybody to
No.
tell them nothing. You can't do this. You can't
And I
do
was
that.
listening to
No
a teaching
is
this morning on
a
a podcast.
terrible word.
I was listening to somebody dealing with Proverbs, the whole chapter of Proverbs 1 this morning, just talking. It was not inspirational. It literally just, monotonous. He was just talking. And this person was talking about the person who refuses instruction is defined as a fool. So you want to know whether or not you're a fool when nobody can tell you what to do.
Nothing.
And listen
That's
to
a
this.
fool.
Correction and instruction is the proof I still care.
Yeah. Well,
When
the
I
Lord
quit,
says He chastens those He
Those he
loves.
If I quit giving instructions and I quit, giving any type of correction, you're in a bad place with me, because that means I've given up.
Yeah.
But boundaries are the things in life that will heal your life. Give me a drug addict. What are they trying to do? Put boundaries in their life that can heal it and turn it around. Give me a marriage that has fallen into great distrust. Give it new boundaries and it can turn around.
Right.
I mean, give a person who has been given to slothfulness and laziness, let them put boundaries in their life. I saw a guy today, 7 things that'll change your life. Get up at this time, do this, do this, do this. And then all these people were commenting by the thousands of, I did these 5 new things, basically boundaries.
That's what we're doing with our food.
5 new
That
boundaries.
is a boundary for us, and it is for our protection.
Exactly.
It's for for our good. Does it feel good? No. Are you hungry?
Yes.
Sometimes,
so
yes.
But my cholesterol was 256.
So now.
And so I'm wanting to bring it down 100 and some points. So what do you do? Something's got to change.
Yeah, boundaries.
So there's, when it comes to food, there's got to be
a stopping
I
point.
can't go here.
Yep.
I can't go here. If you can, praise the Lord. I don't judge you.
But maybe whoever's listening may need boundaries in their life for other reasons.
Yep. So then he says there's a swamp. And when he talks about that swamp, that is so interesting. He said there's no life there. And what is a swamp? A swamp is water
that goes anywhere.
That don't have boundaries.
Yeah, that just goes and does whatever it wants.
You have a swamp where there's no banks. You can't get any money for swamp land. You can't build on swamp land. There's so many things. It's mosquitoes and it's.
Because you saw a bug.
Was there a bug on me? I saw something.
It was a bug.
I'm talking about mosquitoes and saw a bug on me when I did that. In other words, nobody says, man, let's go down to the swamp today and have a great time.
Unless you're looking for gators.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, here's what you find in a swamp: trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, you can find trouble. You can find trouble. In a swamp, I don't want you to live a swampy life.
Right.
I don't want you to live a life with no boundary. You won't believe how many people get up every day with absolutely no plan.
No life.
No plan. No plan. No strategy. And those people, when you go out with some of those people and anything goes, that is a tragic life waiting to happen. That is a swamp on the way.
Yeah.
Because why? And they will brag about the fact. Nobody tells me what to do. I do it my way.
But their life's going nowhere.
And their life will turn into a wreck. We watched the Chronicle the other night. Me and you sat down 2 nights ago, and a life that had so much potential. Yeah. But you know what? Zero boundaries in this star's life. And then it was just a tragic end. And I looked at you after we cut off TV, and I said, she lost everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Why? No boundaries with men. No boundaries with money. No boundaries with lifestyle, no boundaries with drug, no boundaries.
Yep.
And dead and gone at a very young age. It was sad to watch it. But that's the spiritual context that Hope and I, we build these things on. Now, Hope, I'll tell you something. Let's just be real honest. A lot of times coming to agreement on boundaries within a marriage is hard.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because by nature, not by personality, but by gender, male and female, we see things differently.
Right.
We just come at it from a different perspective. We talked all the years our kids were growing up, what does the boundary need to be? And a lot of times you and I would fall at a different place.
We did.
Like we talk about how I didn't want you to cook 6 different meals. Just cook one and make them eat it. And then where you came from, and so you would, what do you want?
Customize
okay, what do you want? Well, you don't like this, I'll fix you this, And that would tear
Carpenter restaurant.
That would tear my nerves up. But you had a whole
Challenge. I want Alfredo.
Yeah, you had a whole different vantage point you came from. I
just want noodles
or macaroni.
Yeah,
something like that. And so, we had to come to a place where sometimes boundaries you arrive at them easily. Sometimes it's difficult.
Very difficult, especially if you're coming. There's no way you can establish healthy boundaries if you're not healthy. The only way you can establish healthy boundaries is if you're coming from a healthy place, because you're always going to have ill motives. It's always going to be, if you're not healthy spiritually, then you are going to try to always blur the lines. You're going to try to skirt the system. You're going to try to go underground, go underneath the fence, and come up on the other side. So until you really have a healthy relationship, I'm not talking about glow in the dark. I'm talking about pursue a healthy, genuine, I'm pursuing God. Yeah, I fall down sometime, but I get back up. But a true,
you love what God loves.
Yeah, where you are pursuing Him first.
Yes, you love what God loves.
And you come to a place where it's not my will, God, but yours. I want to submit my life to you, and I want to do life
now, see,
your way.
You breezed right over that. Do you know how many people are saying, not my will, but yours? Everybody right now saying, my will, my rights, my entitlement, my everything. You know,
I didn't say it was easy.
Yeah, coming to a place before God saying, not my will, thy will be done, that's a tough place to be.
So just an example, what is a boundary just in the natural? Your skin.
Okay.
Your skin is a boundary. Why? Because it keeps the good in
Your skin, if
Keeps
you
the
didn't have
bad
skin,
out.
your skin keeps your blood in.
Yeah. Organs.
So if your blood gets out, okay, the life is in the blood, you're going to die. So your skin is a boundary, but what does it do? It keeps out disease.
Yep.
It keeps out, bacteria. It keeps out, and whenever something that's supposed to be kept out, like a virus, gets in, it makes you sick. Whenever you let something pass the boundary
Come on.
that shouldn't be past the
Should
boundary,
not. It's going to
it
destroy
makes you sick. It makes you
Yes.
sick. Something in your life is going to get sick. So skin is a boundary. There are relational boundaries. And you know what? Relationship talks can get a crowd anytime you do it. So let's just go there for a minute. Relational boundaries. Relational boundaries are the hardest because they're invisible. I can see my skin. It's keeping stuff out. It's keeping stuff in. Okay? I can see a fence. I'm not going to rake the leaves on the other side of the fence. I'm going to rake the leaves on this side of the fence because I don't want to rake his leaves. They're his leaves.
Right.
These are my leaves.
His
and
responsibility.
The fence is defining my property from his property, okay? There are bedrooms in a house. The kids will say, I don't want him in my room. That's their space. That's their boundary. That's their property. Those boundaries are easily seen. Relational ones are so tough because we let people cross lines, invisible lines that should have been erected not to let people in. Everybody does not deserve to get all the way in, and I tell people this all the time. There's some people hope that let people in too quick, and I'm like, that you just met that person, and the very fact that you're having that conversation, there's been 100 boundaries already crossed.
Right.
They have not earned that conversation.
Right.
So there are levels to relationships. Number one, I just met you. After that, I've met you and been around you a couple of times. We're an acquaintance, and I can walk it all the way into best friends. There are levels to that. So some boundaries have to be reset because they've earned trust with the last one. So you reset a new one right here, and if they've proved faithful, you can set it up closer. That's called intimacy. You're creating intimacy. What is intimacy?
Information.
Intimacy is not sex. Intimacy is information. There are people all over the world having sex, and they're not intimate at all. But when I start telling you stuff,
when
I
you
start
get
being
information.
and bonds create out of that. The worst thing you can do is have two victims having a conversation bonding over pain. That's one of the worst things you do. You start telling another victim everything that's happened to you that they've not earned, and they have to outdo you with their story's got to be a little bit worse than you. And all that pain is creating bonds.
A mesh.
All these boundaries are being crossed.
And then that ends up being codependent.
Yes.
Because you're dependent by unhealthy things. We have a whole podcast on that. What is codependency?
What is the enmeshment? I forgot the definition of that. When the relationship.
It's when you're not separate anymore. You have enmeshed. You have.
There's no definition.
There's no definition.
There's no definition where you stop and the other person starts. Okay.
It's codependency.
I knew that. I remembered the word. I just couldn't remember the exact definition for it. So, kids.
And there's so many levels to children because there's children in your home, there's teenage children, there's adult children.
Let's talk about children. And I'm not talking about children with special needs. I'm not talking about children who's going through something. I'm not talking about, let's just say you just got 3 kids, and they're 4, 2, and they're 6 months.
Wow.
You got 3 kids.
I felt tired when you said that.
I have seen marriages on the brink because mama will not make the kids sleep in their bed. It is amazing what letting a kid sleep in their bed 4 years has done to that marriage.
Right.
I mean, resentment, cursing, the total complete loss of intimacy. Conversation has been shut down.
Rest.
Why? Because 2 people have not come together and gotten a boundary. Okay? We always talked about, are our kids going to sleep with it? If they're sick, if there's a thunderstorm, if they had a nightmare, yes, they're our babies. But just sleeping in our bed, I didn't allow it. Why?
No.
Because after I've spent all day making sure my kids are taken care of, and we did, that's mine and your time. I want to hold you. I want to be near you. I want to be with my wife. So I think that's one place that we erode the healthy boundaries. But, I can't tell you what that should be.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, you're going to have to do it because the resentment you feel and the wedge in the relationship is not leaving until you've done about it. Okay, what age can your kid date?
There's a million things we could talk about with kids for boundaries.
I just want to bring some stuff up. Not to tell you what your boundaries got to be, but to tell you
But
you
you
do have
need
to have one.
Yeah.
You do have to have one, because there's so much disgruntledness around the house because the boundaries have not been set. Whenever you fail to respect little boundaries, you end up drawing a huge one.
Yeah. Like divorce.
That's what I told people. I was saying, you know what divorce is? Divorce is you cross so many little ones, now I'm going to draw a huge one.
Right.
I'm going to dig one you can't get past. That's what
Yeah.
that's what divorce is. 1,000 little boundaries have been crossed.
Right.
So I'm going to
Because
put
you
a big
didn't
one.
do what you said you were going to do.
Exactly right.
Or you keep crossing
Or
what
you
I've
did
asked
things you
you
shouldn't
not
have done.
yes.
Mhm.
And you keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So ultimately I've got to draw a huge
big
boundary
boundary.
to show you I'm not putting up with
Big
this.
boundary. That's where restraining orders
Yeah.
and custody battles and all those things come in. All that is the little boundaries were never built and respected.
Yeah.
So I'm building a big, you know what a jail is?
A boundary.
A jail is you have no internal boundaries.
So we got to give you
And since
one.
you have no internal boundaries, we're going to build a physical boundary to make sure you can't harm yourself or anybody because you have no internal boundaries that we can trust you
Yeah.
with. All of these boundaries are inside of you. And you've got to learn how not to cross those lines inside of
Yeah.
you. Men, how much do you talk to women at work before you have crossed a line?
Yeah. What is the line?
What's the
Anyway,
line?
what
Has
is
the
the
line
line?
been drawn? We know exactly what our lines are.
Yeah.
I know what my lines are.
Right.
We drew those lines. Some of them we didn't draw fast enough. Some of them we had to redraw them. But the fact is, we have lines when it comes how we respond
To
to
the
the other
opposite
sex,
sex,
how
yeah.
much we're going to be around the other sex, and if you don't respect those boundaries, nothing good comes out of that.
Right.
And here again, just throwing up stuff that you need to look about. Spending. There are certain amounts, Hope,
Yeah.
you can go spend it. I don't care. You ain't got to show me a receipt. It don't matter. But if you were to spend an exorbitant amount of money, to communicate.
Yeah. We know the number.
We do
We
that.
don't have to say it
Exactly.
here. But Ron and I have already decided years ago what the amount is. We're like, you can spend whatever you want, whenever you want. But if you try to make a purchase of this amount or more, we have to sit down and have a discussion.
She comes walking in with a bag. Hey, what's in that bag?
Nobody wants to
What kind
live
of-
like that.
That's not fun to be with. That's not what we
How
do.
much did you spend?
Yeah.
No.
So she's a grown adult. She does well. God's blessed her. You do what you want to do with your money. I don't come in and question all that, nor do you. Now, I was at a place the other day, and our oldest grandson has been wanting something for about 3 years. No. Well, finally, I'm like, you know what?
Because you know what? That was a boundary because we said, you're not old enough.
You're not
old enough.
But he wanted a four-wheeler. Well, that four-wheeler wasn't $200 or $300. So what did I do?
You called me.
Baby, let me tell you what's going on. And it ain't that I'm asking your permission. It's that I want your agreement. And if I would have sensed you would not been in agreement with me, I'm just going to tell you, the purchase probably would not have been made if I'd sensed we were not on the same page with that thing. So boundaries with money. Have y'all set boundaries? Don't just sit there and be resentful.
Right.
Don't be mad.
See, that's the whole thing with boundaries. There has to be a spoken word. This is what my boundary is. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. This is what I expect. You have to establish it out loud. And one of the easiest boundaries, the easiest, most universal boundary is the word no. Do you want to go out with us this weekend? We're going downtown. It's just the girls. Well, if your internal boundary is, I'm not putting myself in that situation. I'm a married woman.
I'm not going out with four single ladies.
Right. So my answer is no. I'm not going. That is my boundary. Hey, would you help pick up my kids tomorrow? I need to run. No, I'm sorry, I can't. I have to be home to cook.
Here's what people do. Instead of being, there's irresponsible. Is there a bug chasing me?
Yes.
You know, I must have good cologne on today.
Or you don't have any. You stinky.
I have a stinky boundary. I just got through preaching.
Go.
I really did. So I forgot what I was talking about.
Me too. I
You're
got the
talking
bug.
about
Going out.
Yeah, okay.
Boundaries, saying no.
But here's what people do. Instead of, we talk about people being irresponsible, there's another side of boundaries called being over-responsible. People feel responsible for everything and everybody.
Right. That you won't say no.
Over-responsible is you won't say no, and then what you won't say no to, you sit there and resent it the whole time you're doing it. So you only had one night this whole week. You've worked 70 hours. All your nights have been spoken for. You only have this little bit of time. And then your mother calls and says, will you such and such with me? And you don't say no because it's mother. And then you sit there and you're aggravated the entire time, not at your mother, at the fact you didn't say no.
I can't say no to people.
Mm-hmm. And when you can't say no to people, that's a swamp too.
It is. It's people coming all up into your yard, crossing over your fence.
Now, in our life,
boundary line.
This is our life. You know, if you're a banker, if you're a school teacher, if you're a nurse, it's something else. In our life, we're in the business of people. You and I have maintained, no matter how much we've been burned, hurt, upset, betrayed, whatever, we still love people and we desire to help people. I want to help people. I want people to live their best life. Having said that, we learned some very hard lessons about, okay, I don't care if I am a minister. A minister does not mean that I have no boundary and you have 24-hour-a-day access to me. Now, I was kind of taught that's what that was, that to give your life to God and be a man of the cloth, you're now no longer.
Man of the cloth.
Yeah, that you no longer really have a life. You know it?
Sorry.
What's man of the cloth?
That tickled me. Man of the cloth.
I have a priestly collar.
Go ahead.
I have a priestly collar. I have a cloth.
Ooh. Okay.
So you distract me. I can't.
I'm a woman of the cloth.
I don't know what I'm saying now.
You said we ain't 24/7 access.
Yeah, you can have 24/7 access to me. So what did we do? What did we decide to do? One thing we decided to do was put Monday in place.
Right. Monday's our day off. Unless you're dead or dying, don't call us.
And I get so aggravated if I break my own rule. I do. Well, somebody, I want you to come preach the only day I got that week's Monday. I don't.
You don't even like me to get a doctor's appointment on Monday.
Yep, I don't like it. So, because I work real hard and I'm very committed to what I do, but Monday, I don't. And so whenever I do jump on the plane, I'm sitting there and I'm almost resentful. But I can't be resentful at the people. They hadn't done anything.
You did it.
I'm resentful that I crossed my own boundary. Mm-hmm. And so I get back and I talk about how tired I am. Why? Because I didn't have a day off that week. And Tuesday I hit it wide open. Only person I can be mad at is me.
So no, the word no is a boundary, how you can start with boundaries. Mm-hmm. Distance is a boundary. Distance. Proverbs 22:3 says, the prudent see danger and they take refuge. The prudent see danger and they run from it. Distance. You must distance yourself from danger. That's so hard for some people. So many people think, well, I'm just going to go be the light. They're my friend. I'm just going to help them. Oh, I've known them all my life. The prudent see danger and they take refuge. Stay away.
I hear people say that all the time. God saved me from it, and so I can go back and save it, and they fall right back into the same thing.
That's like taking an alcoholic and you've sent him to rehab and he's not drinking anymore, but say, okay, now we're going to go get a job at the bar. Yeah. I want you to be the bartender and expect that nothing's going to happen to you. The prudent see danger and they take refuge.
They understand their weaknesses and they place boundaries and what I call lines of separation.
Right. Distance.
Lines of separation between you and the thing that wants to take you out. Those are all boundaries. What's another set? In-laws. Those were tough boundaries. I won't talk much. I'll let you speak if you want to speak. I've learned my boundary.
Oh, my God.
But,
I had to set boundaries with my parents.
Okay, I think that's what I wanted you to say.
I had to set the boundary as to how far that could come into our marriage.
Because it was a huge overreach.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
for a
It
long
was,
time.
I'm not talking about just casual talking or,
I'm not talking about are you coming over for Thanksgiving or not.
yes,
I'm not talking about that.
no, or giving advice. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about severe control and manipulation of
In your
me where I was not submissive and one with you. So I had to
Wedge.
draw
Could actually be a wedge.
huge boundary.
Yep. And I remember when you came out of your long ministry time, that was actually a part for me. One of the things you took care of.
I did.
Is this will not happen again. This will not happen again.
And now it's very healthy.
Health is probably
Ever
ever been.
been.
So in other words, once you said, these are lines and you will not cross them, then it got healthy.
Yeah.
Listen, guys,
This stuff really works.
this stuff works. This stuff really works.
And no, we're not talking about being ugly. We're not talking about being mean to people. The Bible says, speak the truth in love. I mean, sit down. This is the way. This is what we've decided. This is what I've decided. And then you have to have consequences when the boundaries are broken.
Credit. We do not put anything on credit unless we have the money to pay it off.
Right.
Period. Well, I say money, the plan. I have a strategy, bless you. I have a plan, a strategy. Okay, if we're going to get this, then this.
It'll
and
take
I'll
3 months to pay it off.
Yeah, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this to pay that off. And that's the way we use our credit. We actually use credit to build our credit,
Yes.
not because we need to buy a lot of things on credit.
We use it.
But here again, people going out running up enormous amounts of credit cards with absolutely no idea
yeah, that's just no
of how
discipline.
they're ever going to bring that back down. But it's very common. It's very, very common. And so, boundaries and spending. We tithe, period.
Yeah,
If we split pork and beans,
right. We're going to tithe.
we tithe. It is a financial discipline. I see me losing about half of my audience right now where I'm going with this. But these are just boundaries that we don't cross. So
Boundaries are for your health.
Yep.
It's
So-
really for your good.
your career. How far can what you do invade you? How far, I had to say, how far can my church come into my home? I had to
Well,
make that decision.
It's in every nook and cranny.
You know what I'm talking about, baby.
It's in the bathroom, in
ain't.
the kitchen, in the
We've
porch.
done a very good job of keeping our house a refuge.
It is a refuge.
It's a
but
refuge.
We can't
How
even go on a
far-
date and not talk about church.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how much can what I have to do in ministry interfere with my personal life. And we have marked that off pretty defined, and we've kept our house a refuge, which was very important to me. I'm like, I can't live in this all the time. I work hard, I'll give it all I got, but that's not sustainable. To live in an eternal state of ministry no matter where I'm at geographically. So we've made our home a refuge, and we actually don't bring a lot of people or a lot of things to our home.
No,
We don't. Because we've kept it that. So some of you, that are trying to build something great, nothing wrong with that. God believes in greatness. But how far can it invade your life?
It's been good, babe.
How far?
And
There's
listen,
a lot more we could talk about.
We could
but-
talk for hours, but there's a wonderful book called Boundaries, Henry Cloud. And he
Is
has
it McLeod or Cloud?
Cloud.
Henry Cloud.
So there's also boundaries in marriage, boundaries with children, boundaries with teenagers.
Boundaries with friends.
Yeah, it's just, he has a lot of books. So if you want to know more about it, go buy his books. He's not a sponsor today, but we love his material, and it's really helped us. And there's so much more to learn about it.
Well, let's end with this. We do have 2 sponsors today.
We do? Ourselves.
We're sponsoring ourselves today. Some of our normal sponsors are not with us today, so we're taking this to sponsor our own podcast.
Yep.
I am revisiting a 2009 subject. When I released the book, Hope, Necessity of an Enemy, I had 10,000 Facebook followers. Now I have 1.8 million. And people tell me all the time, you need to do a re-release. I do believe the book was good. I just didn't
So
have as
good.
much following
Such a
at that time.
great book.
So I'm revisiting that and preaching it on Sunday. I would love for people to go to roncarpenter.com, go to the online bookstore, and check out The Necessity of an Enemy. Why? to find out who you're fighting and why you're fighting.
Yeah. You can get it at roncarpenter.com or
Who's our-
anywhere
who's
books
our
are
other
sold.
sponsor?
Hope Carpenter? Oh, they've heard about my book plenty of times.
What is it?
They've heard about my book. Let's talk about your book.
No,
It's
The
so
Most
good.
Beautiful
The Most
Disaster.
Beautiful Disaster, hopecarpenter.com.
Do you talk about boundaries in
A little
show?
bit,
Yes,
I do,
I thought
yeah.
you did. I remember.
Yeah.
I thought you touched on it a little bit in one of
But
the
you can
chapters
get
in
both
there.
of these books anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Walmart, Books A Million, all of the places you can get books, or you can go to roncarpenter.com.
She's a little bit more fluid and better writer than I am, but both of them are very substantive. And so I believe they can help and change your life. So there's our sponsors today. Guys, we love you. Thank you for being on here. Maybe we didn't give you answers, but maybe we can spark a conversation. And if we
awesome.
sparked a conversation and got you talking, then I think this has been a success. So until next time,
It's Ron and
Ron
Hope
Carpenter,
Unfiltered.
Ron and Hope Unfiltered, real, raw, and relevant. We love you guys. We'll see you later.